I was an addict. That's what I tell people. But my addiction was money. And so, just like any addict, I had it all the time. I found a way to have an abundance of it. You speak to an alcoholic, or you go to their home, there are cabinets full of alcohol. So, in my case, I was addicted to money. And I found a way to be very successful in having money around me all the time. And the reason I gave it away is because I thought I need to detox. I need to kick it. I need to kick the addiction. And I realized that when I first thought, I'm not happy. I want to repurpose my life. I want to shift away from a money driven lifestyle. And I realized my first move was to just walk away. And I did.
Welcome to Linda's Corner, where we bring more hope, healing, and happiness to the world. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about how compassion and harmony can change the world. I'm delighted to welcome Ali Horriyat. Ali is the founder of the Compasivist Foundation, a global network of humanitarian projects. He is an expert in economics, political science, philosophy, business, international relations, conflict resolution, and religion. He's also the author of 13 books. You can reach Ali at his website, compasivist.com, and I'll include a link in the show notes. Welcome, Ali. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. And that's a long list of things you mentioned there.
Do you know? And I shortened it. I shortened and shortened and shortened. In fact, I have to be honest with you, as I was trying to put together the introduction and what I'm going to ask in the beginning, I had a hard time because you have so many things. It's like, what part do I want to start with and where do we want to go from here? And the thing that fascinates me the very most is you intrigue me. Your story intrigues me. I have had the privilege of speaking with other guests who have been very successful in finance and in the corporate world, who have given it up and walked away to find fulfillment, personal fulfillment in serving others, in humanitarian work. But none of them reached the economic success, the level that you achieved, where you have. I just wonder what kind of person has the capacity to earn billions of dollars and the courage to give it away. Who are you and what makes you tick? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I can give you the short side of it first. I was an addict. That's what I tell people. But my addiction was money. And so, just like any addict, I had it all the time. I found a way to have an abundance of it. You speak to an alcoholic, or you go to their home, there are cabinets full of alcohol. You speak to a heroin addict, they always have a few dealers on standby in their phones, close by, friends. They know how to score. So in my case, I was addicted to money. And I found a way to be very successful in having money around me all the time. And the reason I gave it away is because I thought I need to detox. I need to kick it. I need to kick the addiction. And I realized that when I first thought, I'm not happy. I want to repurpose my life. I want to shift away from a money driven lifestyle. And I realized my first move was to just walk away and go away. And I did. I went away. I went on a vacation, an extended vacation. And I thought, I'm going to repurpose my life, do some good with my life. But what was I doing? I was going from 5-star resort to 5-star resort, first class destinations, and just pretending that I'm going to do something wonderful, benevolent in the world. And I realized quickly that I'm doing the same thing I was before. I'm just addicted to my surroundings, to the wealth, to the money, to the prestige, to the lavishness, to the opulence. Nothing changed. I'm just not at the office. It dawned on me that it's the money. I can't do anything as long as I have money because I keep getting sucked back into money. So I called my lawyer one day, early on in the vacation, and I said, I want to give everything away. And he started laughing. And I started telling him, no, I'm serious. I want to have a serious conversation. And he kept on laughing. And so it took a while for me to explain to him that I was very serious. And then he kind of felt that he had to save me because I maybe had lost my mind. And so at that point, it was really a month of which he wouldn't actually allow me to. He said, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to be the lawyer who made this mistake and then, be famous for it. I need you to speak to somebody first. So I had to actually speak with a friend of his who was a psychologist to make sure that I'm okay. I'm not having a moment or a nervous breakdown or some kind of episode. And so when we came to the conclusion that I'm fine, we agreed to give it all away. And he said, "You sure you don't want to keep like a little bit of it?" And I said, "Nope, nope. I want to give it all away so that I can, have a rebirth, a real rebirth." He said, "Okay, fine." So we made that donation. It was a lump sum donation. It was everything. And even, my home, everything went in that. And I walked away. And the day that we did that, I actually threw my phone into a river because I was scared of calling him back. I was scared that I'm going to call my dealer back and say, no, 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 give me my drugs. And so I threw my phone away, so I couldn't do that. And 2 days later, that was my detox. 2 days later, I went and got a new phone and a new SIM card, and I was overseas, so I didn't have the old number anymore. And I called him and I said, "Did you do it?" And he said, "Yes, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you. I've sent you messages. I've called you. I've sent you emails." And I said, "This is what I did so that, we were sure we did it." And he said, "Yes, it's been done as you wanted." And I said, "Great. Okay." And so that was it. That day, I felt relieved. The next day, I was very angry with myself. I was very upset. It's like, what did you do? Oh my God. I went into that mode and it took a while. And I had a little bit of money with me. I spent it because I was just used to spending and I had no understanding of value. And I found myself about under 2 months from then, I found myself sleeping in a metro station because I didn't have money. And
Not a
I
five-star
and
hotel, not
no,
a
no,
five-star
no,
metro
no, and
station.
I actually no, and I actually became friends with a guitarist who was playing there, and he invited me. He said, "Do you want to eat?" And I said, "You make that much money that you're inviting me to eat?" And he said, "No, no, there's a soup kitchen here. They serve good food." And I said, "Okay." And I went with him and I ate there too. And that was my life for about 2 years, nomadic, kind of sporadic traveling, just me and a carry-on, and that's it. And a lot of thinking. And I had my laptop with me, which I'd taken when I'd left for vacation. And it's funny because this was the first time in my life that I packed my laptop instead of packing my iPad because I used to always pack my iPad where on vacation I'd read on it or play games or whatever. This time, for some reason, I packed my laptop. That started the journey of writing. I hadn't written any of the 13 books before that. My healing came through writing. It was never purpose for publishing. It was never purpose for anything of the sort. I used to always write. I liked it. I was good at it. And so one thing led to another. I was writing a lot of books. And that was the start of Compassivist in my mind. That's when it all came together from the book writing. Because just like I had an episode that really made me leave, I also had an episode that made me think of Compassivist and all of its arms, the foundation, the publishing house, the music program, and all the other arts that are involved with Compassivist as tentacles of the Compassivist octopus. And it started with the publishing house because a friend of mine who's a literary agent I was at the time in Istanbul, Turkey, through my travels. I spent time there. I spent time in Iraq. I spent time in Egypt. So yeah, I did kind of like a Moses tour, so to speak. And when I was in Istanbul, my friend, she said, hey, I had email. I was still in touch with some people. And I said, I'm in. She's like, I'm coming to Istanbul for a book fair. Are you there? I said, I'll meet you. I said, okay. So she met me one day and I had my laptop with me and she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I write and I just walk around and just think of what I want to do with my life. And she said, what do you write? And I said, just little things for myself. She said, can I see? And I said, sure. And she started reading and she just kept on reading. And I'm sitting there and it took like over half an hour. And she said, this is good stuff, Ali. And I said, okay. It's like, do you mind if I show it to someone? I said, no, sure. So she emailed a few samples to herself. And about 3 months later, she emailed me and she says, I have one of the big five publishing houses very interested in a collection of your work, both poetry and the chapter books and the short stories and all of that. I said, okay. I got excited because I thought, hey, maybe through the publishing of the books, I get to, have a platform that I can now purpose to what I want to do with my life. And so I started having that conversation with them. And that's where I think that was the God sent moment because these people ripped me apart. I mean, they took everything that I had written. I mean, this was my heart pouring out in the poems, in the writing, in all the issues that I'd raised, the chapters that I'd written about. And they said, oh, this is not marketable. This doesn't sound good. This we need to tweak a little. And, we're going to put these chapters together. They look better. And then I looked at the contract and, well, I can read. So I looked at the contract myself and, you know, it was funny because here I am reading it. I'm thinking, who would ever sign this? I mean, you're taking all my rights to everything I've written. Are you kidding me? This is my writing. This is my book. How are you taking the rights away? And then here's a book about, my take on climate change. And you're telling me after reading the book that you want me to sign a contract which includes print publishing and also a tour of the US on a plane to promote this book. Meanwhile, it's not just the paper and the carbon neutral and buying carbon credits and planting trees. It's I raise the issues of slavery and child labor in binding books and other aspects as well. So how do you want me to be implicit in the same things that I've raised in the book? That's why it has to be digital because I'm raising points here. And they said, but that doesn't sell. Like, yeah, there's a market, but I mean, we're not talking the numbers that we're talking when you have print in there. And we can't give you this kind of a contract. And it was fairly substantial contract. At the time, it was for 8 books. And so I said no. And they said, what do you mean no? You don't, they were taking this ground like you don't say no to us. I mean, you will never get published in your life. And somebody actually said that to me. They said, you will never get published. And I said, okay, that's fine. I could deal with that. I could deal with never being published, but I'm not going to sell myself this cheap. And they said, what do you mean this cheap? This is a very lucrative offer for a first time, person getting published and all of that. And I said, yeah, it may be, but if I really wanted to sell myself, I just go back to Toronto. I can have my office up and running in 5 minutes and make what you're offering me in a few days. So really, I don't need it. So I took the high road and I left. And when I left, I realized, wow, there must be thousands upon thousands of people who are in this same situation, but they have to sign because these people have families to feed, they have bills to pay. They can't be as crazy as I am right now. They can't be as irrational as I am because this is irrational behavior. You don't say no to a big deal from a big corporation signing. It's like an athlete getting drafted and saying, no, I don't like the team colors. You just don't do that. You suck it up and it becomes your favorite color. That's our culture. So for me to do this was okay for myself because I never bowed down essentially. But I could see how every other person may need to in this position. And so I thought, hey, my first activism stance should be here in my writing. So I created Compasivist Publishing. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do with it? Well, it's going to be digital. We're going to leave all the writers their rights to the books. It's their book. We don't take it from them. It's going to be, the artwork, the cover, everything's going to be how they want it. Yes, we'll edit, we'll support them with all of the things that we need to, but essentially it's their book. We're not going to change it. And so I started that. And mind you, this is all me not having money doing all of these things. But as well as I do, you can register a company for next to nothing these days in terms of, registering a name. It's getting the work done that is the issue. And I thought, okay, but now if I make sales, how am I going to purpose the sales to causes that I need to bring up in the world? And I thought, well, we're going to tie the publishing house to a foundation. And that's how Campassivis Foundation came to be. And I said, we'll be even. My authors take half, I take half, about, and all of our half is going to go directly into the causes. So we're going to be a nonprofit publishing house, and ethical and environmental in every way. And that was the birth of the foundation. But those didn't have a name yet. Those were just ideas. And so Campassivis came to mind when I thought, what is driving me? And I realized what's driving me is compassion. What's driving me is the lack of compassion in my life from the moment I started working all the way to when I quit. Because those years of success took away all the compassion there was within myself and within my surroundings. I was giving to charities, not because I was charitable by nature, though I was raised to be charitable by nature. I was raised to be helpful by nature, to be loving and compassionate. But I was doing it more so, one, because my accountant tells me to, because it's, part of my tax issues that it's better for me to give some money away, because that's how our societies are constructed financially. And second of all, there was a lot of appeal to be a philanthropist. You go into these lovely galas that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars of a party with celebrities, and you're rubbing shoulders with my own clients who are very important people, and there I am writing a check for $1 million. So there's a lot of appeal there, especially being younger. Everybody's applauding you, and all of that hype builds into it. So you go to I was going to these events. I know the money was helping and doing good in the world. If it was, I don't even know, because I wasn't involved. It was just that event. It was to that extent. And I kept seeing myself in many people afterwards, because many events happened that drew my eyes to them. Like, when the George Floyd tragedy happened, a lot of people were giving hundreds of thousands and millions, but they were doing so as they were vacationing on some island somewhere, or as they were going about their own lives and business. So, your money's good, but I think we need smart money in the world today, which is basically money that has an intelligence behind it to drive that money. So, if you're a celebrity or a philanthropist and you're going to give $1 million to BLM, I think it's generous, but why don't you walk with it too? Why don't you go and walk that walk as well? That would make an impact. And that's how things happened. And, I put history into it. And when Martin Luther King walked and people walked with him, there wasn't $1 million donations. I mean, not that I know of, not the books that I've read. There weren't people giving him the amount of money that we were able to raise today for causes that we do raise money for. But yet, a lot changed. I mean, if it wasn't for that movement and the implications of that movement, we wouldn't be here today in, this post-segregation era. But I see that BLM did less change with more money in terms of legislator, in terms of laws. And that takes me places in my head. And it tells me I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm doing the wrong thing falling into that category of I'm a philanthropist. That's, people have that next to their titles these days. I mean, you look at LinkedIn bios and stuff, and people have philanthropy as a job. like, philanthropist so and so. It's kind of like saying doctor so and so or engineer so and so, right? Those are jobs. I mean, that tells you your specialization. If you see civil engineer, blah, 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 Mr. So or Mrs. So, you kind of understand what they do or what they're expert at. But when you see philanthropist so and so, I mean, what is that supposed to mean? I mean, what that they have a heart, that they're human, that, I mean, as opposed to what, not being human, So it bothered me. And so that's where I came. It was compassion and activism because I believe you need compassion to be able to have some kind of an emotion, an expression towards a concept. And that emotion and expression can only manifest through action, which is the activism of it, because you're here going against some grain to be able to achieve that compassion. Right now, it could be anything. I mean, you look at, let's just take the United States as an example. LA, in downtown LA, there's a whole area called Skid Row. There's a lot of homeless people there. And to be an activist, to make a change there, I mean, you have to do some activity. You have to go in there. You have to blend. You may get attacked. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're willing, with compassion, to go in and try to make a change, try to help these people. You don't know how they're going to react to you, but you're going to go in there and try to help. They may be kind. They may be violent. They may be too hungry that they'll attack your food cart. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're going in with love, And historically, that was the same thing. When Gandhi went to India, he didn't know if he was going to be embraced for his ideas, for his revolutionary ideas, but he went. Nonetheless, he went, right? He took that march. When Moses walked to Egypt, fable or not, he did. He went to Pharaoh and he said, we grew up together. We were brothers. I'm asking you for this favor of letting these people go. However the story went, doesn't matter. But he did do that march. He didn't sit somewhere else and say, well, I'm going to pray for these people to be free. That doesn't work. Prayer requires some kind of movement. So I put compassion, which is the prayer essentially from within your soul, with the manifestation, which is the activism, and called it compassivist, activist compassion. And the reason there's an E at the end is not a grammatical mistake or anything like that. It's because in many languages, the E signifies the feminine. In French and Latin. In English, we don't have that. But in French, we have that as well. So I believe compassion comes from our feminine side, from our feminine power, from our motherly power, from our nurturing power, which is exactly why we call it Mother Nature, not Father Nature, because we recognize that the love and the nurture and the support and all of that comes from the motherly tendency. And I believe in no gender, in the sense that I can be feminine, I can be masculine, I can be very masculine one day, I can be very feminine one day. I left the E there to say that if anybody becomes a compassivist, one of the ideals that they have to embrace is the feminist power. And this isn't feminism in the sense of any kind of political feminism. This is feminism in the sense of nurture, love, compassion, because there would be no life on Earth if mothers didn't have that innate nature in all species, all animals, all lives. Every life on Earth requires compassion in its early stages to develop. Now, as humans, we need compassion almost till the rest of our lives. Until a mother dies, she's somehow compassionately taking care of her children. I mean, she could be 80, her children can be 60, and she still feels this motherly urge to care for her 60-year-old child as if they're 12. So in essence, we have that built into us. It's an innate part of our DNA, and it comes from that motherly feminist power. And so I felt it was very important to put that E there, and it's kind of holding that flag high that I am, and I hope to be a mother to the movement that we build, in a sense of being able to care and nurture and have compassion to make the changes that we want to societally and environmentally.
That is amazing.
That's how Compassivist came about.
So as I'm listening and I'm trying to think, okay, if I were to try to rewrite a bio, an intro for you, it would be, here's a person who has learned to walk his walk. You are authentic. You have become your ideals. You live it. You don't just speak it, you live it. And I read one of your interviews on one of your books about adventures of compassion, stories to harmony. And there was a quote you said that I quite loved, and it really embodies who you are and what you do. And it was, change happens when love is activated. And it's about compassion, which I think is love. It's true caring. And then it requires action to be able to make a difference. It's not wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from your heart, it comes from your mind, and then you're able to create and do and make that change. So that's beautiful. And you have a lot of power by who you are and what you have become. And for a long time, your power seemed to be in the money. Money
Mm-hmm.
is power. But even without that, you are very powerful. And I loved how you put simply, I know how to read. You have this skill set that no one can take from you. You own it. You have become something. And you were that person. And then you, by choice, recreated what you wanted to be without the weaknesses, I guess, of addiction. That's incredible. That's amazing. Is it okay? You talked a little bit about the compassive yeast octopus, and I would love to
Mm-hmm.
hear just a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, as you know, the writing led into the foundation. And then I thought to myself, hey, but I also write music. So, and I love music. I really love music because I think music has a way to touch people. There's a lot of cliches. Music is language of love in the world and all those things, yes, but really it is that way. I mean, I also have traveled a lot. When I say a lot, I mean there's probably a dozen countries in the world that I haven't been to throughout my life. And I notice a lot of the interactions that I've had in my life were in city squares with music, where everybody just was dancing or, involved, or music really, transcended boundaries of all types, race and wealth and everything. And I remember growing up, as I was growing up, Michael Jackson, Queen, these were big names. And I remember they had that, Live Aid concert and the children's benefit Michael Jackson song, and things that completely went to causes. It was not about money. Music was not a business. It was an art. And I thought, we need to revive that because we have the space for it now. We have such a huge reach right now. I mean, these poor guys who did the Live Aid concert, they were all trying to get on stage and trying to get people to donate who were there at the venue, or at best, the TV stations that were airing these live, they had a little ticker at the bottom, please call this number to donate, or, it was very difficult back then to donate. It wasn't as easy as today. And today we have such a platform, and they were so proud of what they were doing. I mean, when you read about the story of this concert, actually, Queen had to fight to get time on stage because they were booked by the time Queen wanted to be on stage. And it's a big band, at the time. To see that, no ego, to see that love, to see wanting to be part of something bigger than yourself and your music, and to give that love, which then that concert became the catalyst for later Princess Diana being involved with the AIDS issue. And I think if it wasn't for that concert and if it wasn't for her involvement, I don't know if you've ever seen her shaking the hands of an AIDS patient. And, the world at that moment was like, oh my God, what did she do? But she was educated. She knew what she's doing. And that became the education that we needed. Because when I was a child, my mom used to say, don't sit here, don't touch that, don't do this. Why? Because there's AIDS in the world. We don't know, depending on where we travel to, some places it was just like that. I can't blame her because nobody knew. It was just ignorance. And so I thought, there's so many talented people who make music, so many. And yes, the industry it is what it is today. And it's a really capitalist, cutthroat capitalist industry today. And there's just no societal value in it anymore. I mean, even it's all about money, it's all about profit. So I want to build this stage where we can repurpose music to causes. We can reignite that passion of the arts to the causes, have concerts where we're giving to something locally, regionally, internationally that makes a difference. And people see the difference. When you purchase a song and you can see in the news that the song that you purchased, the money for that has fixed something, has improved something anywhere in the world, whether it's building a school, education, a hospital, anything it may be, benefits for animals. It makes you proud. It makes you attached to that song. It makes you feel that music because you were part of that music. You feel a sense that you were part of it. So I built language of emotion. That's the label for music. And it's if you take the L and it's language and then OV, not OF, and then emotion. So it becomes LOVE, love. And that is the brand of our music at Compassive East. And so from there, I thought, you know what? Movies, film plays a big role, especially today. People are not reading, Tolstoy. They're not reading, philosophy books. They're not reading these long essays. Kant and people that I read when I was in philosophy and political science. But they watch film. It resonates with them, even if it's a 1 minute short or a 2 hour movie, it kind of makes you think when you leave theater. And so we should invest in that. We should reignite that. We should reignite it with the passion of the true stories that are told, allowing people the freedom to tell their stories and allowing people the courage and the hope that their story will be told. So today, a lot of, I know many people in film who make film for the market. It's just like artists who we cannot have Michelangelos today or any person today of that capacity because we rarely provide people with a canvas and say, paint. And you have a house and you have food and you have all the amenities that you need. Go out there and go wild with your art. They'll be bankrupt. I mean, they'll be evicted within a month because what if that doesn't sell? All that anxiety that we have financially, artists today are just like anybody else. They're just paying their way through life because every breath costs something. And they're just paying for every breath with every brush stroke. So every brush stroke they have on a canvas is essentially paying every breath they take. And so they have to be very careful how they go about that because a wrong brush stroke and you lose. Now you're evicted or now you're not in the gallery anymore. And so they take on commissions. And a lot of artists today will paint a wealthy person's dog's portrait for a few $1,000s because it pays rent, but they won't express themselves. They will not go out there and say, here is my expression. Here is my starry night. This is how I feel. Because if people don't understand it or get it or don't resonate with you, or you don't have that many followers for people to say, oh, wow, how beautiful, how lovely, or if it's not part of the issues that society chases for wealth today, many artists are wealthy just because they paint wealth. Some of the wealthiest artists we have today paint wealth in certain ways. And so, it's very few. I mean, one person I can think of, Banks, who we don't even know who he is or she is, and they're doing revolutionary art. They speak their mind in every wall or any place that they present their art. That is what art is. You see how much movement, how much discussion, how much effect every one of Banksy's art installations, murals, whatever it is, has in the world. And it's not for profit, it's not for money, it's not for any of those things. How many artists are really purposing their art to what art is meant for? It's meant as a discussion. It's a it's a canvas that you put your heart on and you pass it on to someone else, and that person looks at this and says, I see your heart. Let me share my heart with you. Or I'm going to let your heart, beauty of your heart, influence me to be better. We don't have that today. So I thought we need that space, film, art, painting, that medium, those mediums, we need that. And so we created Campacity's Art and Film. And then we went to Campacity's Dialogues, which is essentially having conversations with three different types of people. One, the people who make a difference. So these are people who are not necessarily on social media, who are not showcasing everything they do, but they're in the trenches. They are in places. I have a friend, he was a professor, a PhD from Harvard, who left all of that, went to Tanzania, and is now supporting the Maasai by building them chimneys so that their smoke in their ovens don't kill their 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds with smoke inhalation, and it just shoots up straight out of the top of their homes. He is now building solar panels for them so that they can have electricity and light at night, so they don't get hurt by predators or even by not being able to see at night. And that is beautiful work. But he doesn't even have Instagram. So these people, I think, we should highlight. I have another friend. She's a lawyer in Brazil. She left, her practice to open a pro bono law office to help women in domestic violence. In her southern state in Brazil, there is a no contact order issued 476 no contact issues ordered daily for domestic violence. That is an insane number. She, she told me I can't deal with it. All these, like every other woman, goes through this in this state, and I can't deal with it. I walk around during the day and I see women with black eyes, hurt, bruises, all that. And it's normal. Like we pass by each other as women, and it's normal because, every third or fourth woman is seen that way. And children see this, and they have children. It's just a disaster. I need to do something about it. So she started doing this. And then she said, well, I can't do this by myself because, I don't have income. How long am I going to do this? And I said, well, this is what Campacity's Foundation is about. It's about people like yourself, like, my other friend there, helping the Maasai, and millions of others that could all come together and have a big pool of money to say, let's help each other compassionately. It's not about necessarily, emergency aid or natural disaster relief, but it's just touching people everywhere who are doing the good work. That's one part of the discussions. So highlighting those people, having those dialogues with them, asking them what they do, putting that out in the world, YouTube and other places, so people can resonate, people can see, people can relate, people can say, I see that. And you get real numbers. So for example, imagine this. To help a woman in Brazil going through domestic violence for the whole year of court services that she'll need to go through, therapy from a registered psychologist, emergency space to stay for first few nights until she can, reposition herself, go to find somewhere else or whatever. She'll need some place to stay to be away from the man, because in poverty, a lot of times these women have to go back home and take the abuse because they have nowhere else to sleep. So they accept it. They accept a beating at the cost of, at least I'm sheltered and I'm getting beaten. So to avoid that, we provide them that few days of shelter and food. A lot of them don't work. They're stay at home, and they wouldn't be able to find it. All of this costs $15 per woman. Yes.
Really?
Yes, really, really. It's on our website. You can go see it. It's called Stand With Her. That's the program. It's $15 a woman. So imagine, what's a Starbucks cup of coffee today in lower Manhattan, or right along Fifth Avenue, or a lot of other parts of the US that I could just go off naming for an hour? Nothing. People drink it like, it's just a coffee. What's $10? Nothing. To a lot of people. A lot of those people can give those $10. And a lot of, people who aren't wealthy can give that too. It's not about being a billionaire philanthropist who is going to come and give Ali $1 million to help women in Brazil. No, no. Take $10 out of your month. How hard is that? Is, 100 million people in the US. Take $1 out of your month every month and throw it into this program. You probably are going to save the majority of women in Brazil from domestic violence, and you're going to make legislative change. You're going to make laws change. Right now, there is talks there. They're having these discussions with the law firm because I'm supporting them. We're getting about $3,000-4,000 in there monthly, so that's a lot of women we're trying to help. And what we're doing is to help the economy as well. I thought, I come from a business background, so I have all these thoughts. I said, hey, there's some motels in your area that are kind of not doing very well financially, correct? Yes, correct. Okay, we're going to go talk to these motel owners. We're going to say, hey, never mind worrying about your places getting booked. We're going to book them year round. And what are we going to do? We're going to tell the cops, when you go to these homes and there is domestic violence, remove the person, put them in the motel in a room for the night, let them cool down, because you can't necessarily arrest them all the time. Sometimes you go there, and by law, there are limitations. Unfortunately, the law is designed this way. The law is designed in a capitalistic way to maintain the peace at the lowest cost to the city or the state or the government. It's not designed to take every case individually and act in the best interest of that case. Because otherwise, we'd have to charge more in taxes, or we'd have to be less corrupt as a country. And nobody wants that. So in that sense, we end up saying, okay, you know what? I can't arrest the gentleman. You guys try to figure it out between you. If this doesn't work out, you can come to the police station tomorrow. The cops leave. The woman ends up dead. And then they come back and they arrest the guy for it, right? I mean, it happens. Yeah. Doesn't it happen? Have we not all heard a story like that? Okay. Right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to think about this. We're going to say, Mr. Motel owner, we're going to book all your 50 rooms year round. Give us a good deal. Give us a deal that you can kind of stay balanced. We throw some of the money that we raise in there, and we move these men there for the night. This becomes law, that as soon as there's a call against you, you have to go and spend the night there. It's not jail, but you have to go spend the night there to cool everybody down. Now you've minimized the impact of further violence. The next day, there's court, and then the procession starts. You don't need to see each other. You don't need to hit each other. You reduce the cycle of violence. And by the way, this is also taking care of the children that are with the women too, if there are children with the women. And we account for 2 kids with every woman at this cost of $15. So this was just one story. I could tell you about 5 other things that we do that are exactly in those same numbers. They're $15, $20, and you save somebody. You really save somebody. With $35, you're putting a stove in a Maasai home, in a hut, where children don't get burnt. They don't fall onto the fire. They don't die of smoke inhalation. All those things don't happen with $20, $30, $35. So we're making these kind of changes. It's not like we need $22 million to do A, B, and C. And everybody's like, who's going to raise $22 million? That's too much money. I'm not even going to give to this, because what's my $20 going to do? If this guy's looking for $22 million, no, I've designed them in a way that everybody can participate. Everybody can be a part of it. Everybody can be connected with these causes. Everybody can do something, say something, talk about it, put it up on your media, say, this is happening in the world. It doesn't have to be just your neighborhood. So then we started getting the arts involved with the charity. So for the Maasai movement, for example, what I did is I got a whole bunch of graffiti artists in the world to spray paint their idea of a Maasai woman. When you think Maasai, what do you think, right? And they went out and they did it. Murals. There's in London, Argentina, New York, many places, many cities in the world, Buenos Aires, when I say Argentina, Egypt, all over, everyone we could find. And they put a QR code at the bottom corner of the murals. And that QR code leads back to the website to explain to you what's going on, what the problem is, what's happening, to explain to you when Louis Vuitton came over and did the project with, the whole line inspired by the Maasai. They actually didn't give them a penny. They just did it because the Maasai don't have an IP. They don't. So why would you pay them? Why would Land Rover pay the Maasai for their ads that were just, it's not like 30 years ago. We're talking this decade. Why would they? They don't have IP. They don't have lawyers. They're just happy to be there. A car goes by, they get to take a picture with the car. They're happy to be there. Why would I pay them? And so we highlight these things. This is part of the activism. We highlight it. We discuss it. We explain it. And people get connected to these things. People don't like seeing these things. They don't like seeing oppression. They don't like seeing abuse. So when they see these things, it makes a difference in how they value certain trends and systems and corporations. I mean, as a both of them, as Land Rover and as Louis Vuitton, they're part of monster conglomerates of the world. You can afford to talk to somebody who, like my friend who's working with the Maasai, and say, hey, you work with these people. What do they need? How can we make their life better? We did a whole campaign. We want to help them. We want to leave something good behind for them. Here's $500,000. It'll change a lot for them. We put in a water filtration system, a solar water filtration system in a pond where they get water. And this pond had E. coli, and they were drinking from it, and kids would die. These are measures you can go and see online. It's not new. We put that filtration system in there, and now the water is clean. And they go in and they pump the water and they drink it. It was $4,000.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's sad. It's not beautiful. It's sad because I had to go in there and put this thing in there for $4,000. Somebody should have done this 20 years ago. Somebody should have done this 10 years ago.
You're right.
Everything I've done, somebody should have done. It's not something that Ali should have come along and do.
I'm
something
so grateful that you're doing it and you're showing other people. And the example you talked before about, we don't just need money, we need smart money. And you have given example after example after example of smart money. It's not just about the amount, it's about what does it accomplish. And that really is the bottom line. The bottom line is not how much money went through. It's what good did it do?
And the collective.
That makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything that you just want to make sure we cover before we close today? Let's just wrap this up, and then everybody go jump onto the Compasivist website and learn some more and learn how you can be a part of this, because it's beautiful.
Yeah. In closing, I'll tell you this. The purpose of Compasivist is to raise a collective. And this is not a violent or revolutionary collective in the sense of we're going to overthrow a government. No, it's a collective of compassion. All I'm asking is there are 8 billion people in the world today. We have an insane amount of inequality, so insane that we throw numbers around very easily. But this people with $5 million net worth or more are 0.1% of the population. $5 million is not that much money. It's a lot of money, but it's not that much money at the same time. I mean, there's a lot of people, you drive by their beautiful homes and they have more than 5 million equity in the home alone. So it's not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money. Only 0.1%, which is equivalent to about just under 8 million people. And if you think about it, that's the amount of people in Manhattan during the day. That is the amount of world who have money and security. The rest are either struggling month to month, paying bills, stressing out. This is not life. This is not humanity. So Compasivist is simple. It's very simple. If we can have all the people in the world who believe they have compassion in them come together and be part of something. We've grown chapters. We started in London because I was there when I registered everything. Just, it happened that way. Now we have Capacities USA. It's a 501c3. We have Capacities Brazil. We have one in the EU. I mean, and these are not me. These are people who've joined who said, we want to, my friend, the lawyer who's doing that program said, we're going to register the foundation here so people can donate and support. Yes, let's do it. In the EU, a program there, let's do it. Everywhere we're registered. So it's growing. All I want is for people to grow together. And it takes just the amount of people to come together, because if we can get 100 million people, it's not a big number. In the 8 billion population, 100 million people who are able financially, physically, and educationally, it's not a difficult number to procure in the entire world. It's not even a difficult number in North America alone. So you get those people together and have them give $10 a month each and have them be involved in causes each. It'll just take a couple hours of your month, but that is what will make a difference. It's not relying on governments. It's not saying, well, I give my church money and they know what to do with it. It's not that. You need to be involved. Every human needs to be involved in their compassion. You cannot delegate compassion. It's not a job. It's not like, hey, I'm not really good at painting my walls. I delegated it to Susie, who's a much better painter. No, I can't do that. I can't delegate love to another person because they're better at loving. You were built, you were created, whether you believe in God or not, or however you want to call it, even if it was just purely evolutionary, doesn't matter. All of it was built on compassion. Because if it wasn't built on compassion, the moment the child is born, it is the weakest living thing in the world. You would eat that before anything else.
Right.
Why would you go fight a dinosaur or a lion or chase, a horse and tire yourself out and be susceptible to all sorts of danger when there's a child right there you can eat? Well, there's a reason nobody ate their child.
Compassion.
Because of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to grow. So people join. Let's raise funds and let's grow into bigger things. We didn't even talk about environmental aspects of it, but, another time, another day. But the idea there is the same. I mean, the whole environmental thing is you can't really go and blame Nestle for, oh, they're making plastic bottles, they're polluting the world. 25 companies in the world make 50% of all the industrial greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, they do statistically, but who are they doing it for? If you're not buying, if I'm not buying, then how are they making money? How is Nestle a giant corporation if it's doing all the wrong things and we're not involved with them? Nobody in the world wants to be involved with Nestle, but somehow they're a trillion-dollar company. No, it's because I go into Walmart and I look at my options and I pick plastic bottle Nestle because of the price. And so does everybody else. So again, compassion. When we have no compassion, we value everything at the price point without the real price. That's where our smart money needs to kick in and say, hey, it's smarter to make the better mindful choices that will allow our children and ourselves to live a better future.
That's a good point.
So that's it. That's all about capacities.
Thank you. This has been enlightening. And as I've listened, I feel so hopeful and excited that it feels doable. When you talk about using the money smart and walking the walk and including more people and saying, we can do this. We can do this. And so let's do it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ali, for visiting with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and thank you for having me and thank you for the opportunity. I mean, this is part of Capacivis. This is what it is. You've given Capacivis this opportunity to say, this exists. That itself is that act that I'm looking for, right? I just want another, 10 million Lindas and we'll be set. We'll make a difference in the world.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
In closing, I'd like to share a quote by Thomas Merton. He said, compassion is the keen awareness of the interdependence of all things. Today, I invite our listeners to increase their compassion and strive for harmony. See you next time on Linda's Corner.
Thanks for listening. Please share and subscribe to help us reach new listeners. And if you'd like to heal your life from the inside out, there is a free video series at hopeforhealingfoundation.org. Just click on the Free Stuff tab. I also invite you to grab a copy of one of my books, like Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, and You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. See you next time on Linda's Corner.